Alright, welcome back guys. In this example, we'll be going through a for each collection looping practice problem. Okay, so it's a very seemingly simple problem, but there's more to it. Okay, there's more to it than what the question may imply in its simplicity appearance. Okay, so the task is look through all the worksheet on this workbook. So I have 5 worksheets. Okay, I have 5 worksheets. And it's asking us to look through all the worksheets with the exception of 4. Okay, except for 4. And extract the number and tags from the tracking number. So I have a tracking number here. I'm expected to extract the numbers and tags and populate them onto the respective column, basically column B and C. So this table, what I'm having this table, the format of this table are equivalent on all the worksheets. Okay, you have the tracking number, you have the numeric extraction and text extraction. Okay, and the first entry all begin with the number 6. Okay, and then it also says a macro should be accounted for an expanding data set, which means data should be continuously added and we should be accounting for that. Okay, so it's not a static code. So the moment it says accounting for an expanding row, you know we have to do the algo. Okay, we need the algo. So sub for each exercise. It's not as simple as it seems. Okay, so dim sh, but it's not that hard either. Okay, it's manageable. Promise you that. As range. Okay, we're gonna need worksheet range because we're gonna. The general approach is basically what I want to do is I have an outer loop, which is the looping through the collection of the worksheets. Then I'm going to have a second loop, an inner loop, basically looping through the collection of the range. And then for each element in the collection, I'm going to loop through all the characters. Okay, all the characters. And check if the numbers or string. And then I'm going to extract them respectively accordingly. So I need a number container to hold the numbers. I need a text container to hold the text. Right? So that's the general approach. Okay, so dim RNG is range. So I'm going to say dim C is range as well because we're looping through a range collection. Then dim text, this is going to be the container to hold the text values. And I just like to leave them as a variant, okay, because variant can be anything. Okay, so we may need to add more variables later on. Let's not worry about this. Now establish the outer loop. The first thing is I want to establish the outer loop. Which is looping through worksheet. Okay, so let's not worry about the tab 4, about excluding tab 4 now. Okay, we can add that on later. We can add that later on. Once we've completed the code. Okay, let's worry about how do we do the looping and get the results populated on all the tabs first. Okay, so let's not worry. So for each sh in this worksheet, I'm going to sh dot activate. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the last row, right? Because expanding range. Remember that, right? Expanding range. The last row is long. Okay. Okay. Before I loop through the range collection, I need to understand some expanding range. So therefore, the range is not fixed. That's why I need to have the last row sh dot range. A and rows.count dot n xl dot row. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish the range for the looping, right? For the range collection looping, right? Establish the range for the looping through the range collection. Okay. Very simple. Okay, so set, I've used the keyword set, RNG equals to sh dot range. Okay, it's going to be from A6. Remember I told you they all start from A6, but it's an expanding row, so not all the tables on the worksheets are going to have equivalent number of rows. Okay, so that's why we have to use the L row. So basically, when the loop runs through each sheet, it's going to check for the L row of the active sheet. That's what basically it means. Okay, right? And what we're going to do, we're going to start looping through the range collection, right? For each C in RNG, basically, this is the inner loop, to loop through the range collection. Okay, right? Then underneath it, we have another loop, right? We are looping through the character, right? So we are looping from the first character all the way to, I have to dim I as well, right? I have to dim I as well. So dim I as long, right? For I equals to 1 to the length of the character, right? Of each element in the collection, basically, right? Right? To loop through each character in the element of the page. Okay. Okay. All right. Now let's extract numbers. Let's get the numbers out. Okay. So we're looping through from 1 to all the way till 10. So whatever we're going to check for each one, and we're going to extract if they're numbers. So the way we're going to do it, if it's numbers, I'm going to say if is numeric. I'm going to use the mid function. Okay, I'm going to use the mid function. The C is basically the text. I mean the element in each collection of the range, right? And I is just going to be the iteration, right? The character number that you are referring to, right? So in the first iteration is the first character, second iteration, second character. So the 1, meaning that we're just checking for one character, right? Great. So we're just checking for one character, right? So if it's numeric, then what I'm going to say, I'm going to bring the container, right? The container has to hold that number. So the container initially was a variant. It had no value. We did not specify any value. So now we're going to concatenate that value, right? In case it is a number, okay, for the I equals to 1 to whatever it is. Okay, in case in that iteration it happens to be a number, then it will go into the container. Okay. And I'm going to end the if. And what we're doing with the number, we are going to do exactly the same. We are extracting the letters or alphabet. Okay. So I'm going to use a word if not is numeric. If not is numeric. Mid. I'm going to do the same thing that I've done here, right? I1. Then text equals to text and mid C I1. Okay, and then I'm going to end the if. Okay, so we're done with that part. Okay, so basically we're looping through the range collection, and then we're looping through each character in each element of the range, and then we are extracting the numbers. Okay, we're extracting the thing. All right, then this loop, we're moving to the next I, right? And then we're moving to the next I, right? That's what we're doing. So we have completed this I iteration. Okay, so we have obtained all the numbers and text. Now what we want to do is to return the values to column B and C for numbers and text. Okay, now remember that starts from 6. Okay, so just try to get an understanding. Okay, so we've completed this loop, right? So now before we move to the next range collection, okay, what we want to do is we want to return the value onto 6. Okay, then before it returns to the next range collection, then the next range collection will have the value 7. Then you'll have 8, 9, 10, right? So the value has to be added by 1 before it moves to the next iteration, right? So what I'm going to say is I'm just going to dim j as long, right? And we have to remember that as you're looping through each worksheet, they all start from the number 6. So first 6, and then you loop through the next collection, next element in the range, then it goes to 7, then 8, 9, 10, etc. Then it goes to a new sheet, and then it goes back to 5, 6, 7, etc. Right? It starts from 6 for everything. So I always have to reset the value, right? To reset this value, and the way I can reset the value is, you can say, as soon as this thing is activated, I declared my last row. Okay, I can just set my j as soon as it's activated. I can just set my j is equals to 5. Okay, basically resets the value of a row number whenever the new sheet is run. Okay, so as soon as it's activated, I can have the value j equals to 5. Right now, j here is going to be this j plus 1. Remember that, right? 6. 5 is the initial value, then it's going to go to 6, right? It's going to go to 6, then as it moves to the next collection, it's going to become 7, right? So that's why this has to be this has to be placed right before it moves to the next C, right? If you get what I mean, okay? J equals j plus 1, right? So sh dot range b and j, okay, is just going to be a number. That's the range, okay? sh dot range and c and j, that was the text. It's going to hold the text, right? So we're holding the numbers here and the text here, numeric and text. Okay, so once we've populated that, okay, now we want to move to the next next element in the collection. But you have to remember the number and text has to be reset. It has to be reset, right? We have to reset the container. Reset the container. Otherwise, it's going to take the value from the first element of the collection in the range, right? It's going to get carried forward to the second element. Okay, we don't want that. We don't want that. That's why I'm going to say number equals to just simply this. Text is going to be simply this. Okay, so reset the container. Now we can move to the next C. Okay, we can move to the next C. Okay, and then we can move to the next SH. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done. But there's one thing that I like to do. And that is, as soon as I enter the worksheet, as soon as my worksheet is activated, right, I always want to make sure that I'm not having any of the values that have been registered from the previous execution of the code, right? If you get what I mean, right? I want to clear everything basically. So I want to clear everything in the range of B and C where the values were executed from the previous running of the code, right? So I want a clean sheet basically, right? So the way I can say is that we can just clear everything here, right? We can clear everything on the expected results. Clear everything, okay? As the sheet runs again, okay? As soon as the sheet is activated, right? We can just clear this. We can say sh dot range. We'll clear B6 down to B. Okay, we're not clearing the tracking number, of course, right? We're clearing the extracted thing, okay? And the last row, right? Last row is capital, right? Okay, and not clear, we're going to clear contents, because if you clear, you're going to clear the table outline as well. We don't want that. Okay, right? So now we will not worry about excluding tab for right now. Okay, let's just test this to make sure that it's running. Okay, I'm not sure if there's any mistake on the code syntax or whatever it is. Okay, we have a mistake, right? We have a mistake, and that's something to do with the syntax. Let's check. All right, guys. So numbers, I think, is supposed to be number because I've dimmed it as number, and then I'm having it as numbers. Number, and I was having it as numbers here. So now I've removed the S. So let's try again. Okay, seems to be working. All right. So we have all the results registered, right? So the reason I've left it as the numeric and text, I've left it as text formatting, is that if you have left it in a general format, so if you have any 00 in front, that 00 is going to get, it's not going to be visible. So for example, if I just put it general, okay, if I leave this as general, now this is in general, and I run the code, because that's just how the general formatting works, okay? Okay, you can see that 00 is not there. So that's why I've left it as text format, okay, text formatting, to make sure that they're all visible, okay? So now the value has been populated onto tab 4 as well. I don't want that, so we have to do one final fixing, okay? And that final fixing is a very simple fix. It's what we have done previously. I'm going to add the exclusion to tab 4. Okay, and it's a very simple code. I'm just going to say if as h dot name is not equals to 4. Only then you run this code. That's what I'm telling to Excel. If it's not 4, then you run this. Otherwise, you don't run this. Okay? And where do you think we're going to end the if? We're going to end the if right before we move to the next sheet. Right? So it's going to check for each sheet collection looping if it's 4 or not. If it's not 4, then it runs. But if it's 4, then it just ends the if. Basically, none of this runs. None of this runs. Okay? So if I go back, alright, if I go back and I run this, now because remember the previous extraction, right? Previously value 4 was in it, right? The value 4 was not excluded, so we have to just clear everything back. I want to have a clean sheet, right? I want to have a clean sheet to run the macro one last time to make sure that it's working. Okay? To make sure that it's working. Okay, let's do it. Run. Okay, 5 is here. 4 excluded. 3 working fine. 2 working perfectly fine. And 1, it's right there, spot on. Okay, so that's about how you approach this problem. Okay, so this is something that you might come across in real life. Okay, so as you could see that we are now assimilating most of what we have learned previously, and you will see that how the pieces are coming in together. All right, so we have a long way to go, right? And I hope that you guys can bear with me. So stay tuned, and I'll see you till then. All right, take care.